Egg, I was wondering how long it would take for somebody to bring that up. I swear to God, dude. Most days, I wish that I could chuck my Australian passport and renounce my Australian citizenship and just, like, completely go back to being like, no, I'm a Canadian, don't call me Australian. I'm 100% Canadian. Between the fucking assistance in dying shit and how badly that's been bungled, and now, like, being reminded that fucking arrow schizos exist, I feel the opposite way. Like, Jesus Christ, thank God I don't have my accent anymore. I would rather people hear my Australian accent and assume I'm a fucking racist than hear my Canadian accent and think I actually, like, think the Arrow is better than the F-35. No joke. I'm not going to join Gilson and Stella flying the 24 on Ligmas because Red is stacked like 3, 4 to 1, 5 to 1 maybe, probably more if you don't count the Hueys amongst the stack. Because there are like 3 fighters on blue and Red has a wall of MiG-21s. And Tempest is the opposite. I was like, okay, well, Ligmas is stacked, let's go to Tempest. Tempest is just as bad, but in the opposite direction. So, like, I don't even know if we're going to stick with DCS. I actually wish I'd launched Misfits as soon as I woke up, so it'd be ready to play in about an hour. Because I just... Literally, I launch DCS, I get the stream going, I look at the teams, and I don't want to play DCS anymore. Gonna hit PC? Oh, maybe we'll see. I can't stream for super long today. I know I say that every time I do like a 15-hour stream, but I legitimately can't stream for that long today. I've got a physio coming around to assess how fucked up my joints are, so... We'll be in game in a second, guys. I'm just kind of getting my wits together. Blue Team GCI to help them out? Are you kidding? Like, the first thing I saw when I woke up is more dumb takes from fucking Arrow obsessives, so I was already angry. And now you want me to GCI for the pond life on Enigma's server. On Blue Team, no less. So they're going to ignore me and fill comms with fucking traffic calls instead. Like, no thanks. I'm just gonna jump in the F5 and see if I can kill some shit until I get sick of it, and then we'll find something else to do. What the fuck is up with OBS today? Oh yeah, that's the other thing. DCS is currently eating all of my RAM. All of it. Like, everything. As you can probably tell from how badly the stream is lagging. My PC is dying because DCS, so that's cool. I probably should have restarted my PC before the stream, but like, I've got nothing else running in the background that should be eating memory. It's purely DCS. Did I get blown up on the ground? No, I just de-rendered on the map for some reason. Oh no, I was looking at the wrong airbase. We're off to a great start here, chat. Oh yeah, running OBS has like... I had a smooth frame rate, but stutters before I hit stream, and now... this isn't going to be very playable. Yeah, it is, Max, but I don't think we're staying here. It's really badly red stacked, and my PC can't handle it. It's getting to that point again where I'm not going to be able to play on this server, probably on either map, let alone Syria, because it's just... not viable. And the player base here pisses me off anyway. We'll see how we go. We'll take one flight up. Maybe the frames will improve when we get away from Damascus, although I strongly doubt it. And if it goes okay, we might stay on for a bit. If it doesn't, then fuck it, we'll find something else to do. Like, I honestly only hit stream, because if I didn't hit stream, I would have just sat there, like, doom-scrolling shit threads about the Arrow again, and I don't need that this morning. I'm doing this to keep myself busy. So don't expect a good stream. You're not going to get one. Not that you ever do here, but, like, you'll get worse than usual, probably. Also, I should probably not be too loud, because it is kind of like, RAM. Oops.
Chief, connect ground air supply. Copy. Ground air supply is now connected.
Dude, I knew that Arrow mod was going to be trouble as soon as I saw it. But, like, the thread since then has just convinced me. Like, even if the devs of the mod actually do shit properly, and I have no idea what experience they have, but from reading what they've written, not a lot. They say they got access to the full documentation and a lot of flight test data. Now, if they do, that's a good thing, as long as they actually know how to build a flight model, which is kind of the hard part. But yeah, like, the mod is one thing, but the mindset's another. You can already see from the thread what kinds of people it's got the attention of. That's the problem. Like, every time the Avro Arrow comes up, it just turns into a massive Canadian cope thread, where we act like we had space alien technology that could defeat the entire world, and the US was so terrified of Canada emerging as the new superpower in the West that they unleashed every state agency they had to subvert them and destroy the Arrow. It's like, you fucking morons. The F-106 flew 2 years before the Arrow did. It did everything the Arrow did. It performed as well as, if not better than the Arrow, in every parameter. The Americans weren't going to buy the Arrow. First of all, because the Americans don't buy foreign, because they want to keep their own industry strong, like any sensible country does. And second of all, they already had the fucking F-106, which worked, and had a real radar and real missiles. Right? It's just, the Avro Arrow is Canada's, like, bizarro national fucking conspiracy. It's like a counterpart to every other conspiracy every other country has, folded into one, including the Nazi gold conspiracy, because everyone thinks that one of the Arrow prototypes was bungled away to a cave and survived somewhere. It's mental illness, dude. But it's a mental illness which is pushed repeatedly on the Canadian public by the Canadian media, to the point where it's just accepted as fact. Like, I'm not even joking. I was probably 90% brainwashed myself, and then I started actually reading stuff from other countries besides Canada and realized that, oh my god, the Canadians are full of shit again. They're blaming the Americans for their own mistakes again. Canada, like Sweden, gets away with its public image being as sparkly clean as it does purely because the United States exists. Sweden gets away because Germany exists. The government doesn't want you to know this, but Sweden was one of the last countries to outlaw lobotomies and had a state-run system of eugenics against disabled people into the 1970s and 80s. Happy, cuddly, socially aware Sweden. Canada's like that too. What with this whole assistance in dying thing. Oh, are we gonna get disconnected? No. Yes, maybe. What the fuck is going on? I don't think we're going to be able to play on here if this is going to keep up. We'll try one sortie, but, like, if I can't even get off the ground without the game fucking locking up on me, then I'm done with this. Forgot to tell them to disconnect, I think.
Chief, disconnect ground air supply.
Doesn't help the Sparrow 2 just wasn't feasible for the time. I mean, even if it was technologically feasible, it's not economically feasible. Like, the US gave up on it. Why do people think Canada would be able to afford to fund that development? Like, Canada did have some legitimately excellent research and development of the era. It's not like the Arrow was a bad plane. It was pretty much on par with what the Americans could do, except for the radar and weapons, which they would have to get off the Americans, because Canada couldn't do it. Like, I'm not saying that Canada was some backwards shithole and the Arrow was all hot air. It wasn't. But it's been inflated to the point of ludicrousness. Like, Velvet Glove, which would have been its missile, was cancelled after $240 billion in 2021 money was sunk into it, and then they realised that it wouldn't be safe to launch at supersonic speeds. And also, the Americans had surpassed it with their own missiles anyway, so it was better to just buy off the Americans. Like, the radar, Canada didn't really have a well enough developed radio electronics industry to do that, let alone produce it in any sort of scale. And so they would have ended up buying the fire control system from Hughes, which would have probably been the MA1, which would have put it literally on par with the F-106, because that's what the F-106 had. Like, when the Arrow was going to enter service, well, if it had entered service, it was slated to be firing Falcons, Genies, and using the MA1 fire control system for its radar. So it would have been just a bigger F-106 with 2 engines and 2 crew instead of 1 engine and 1 crew. They had roughly the same top speed. They had, I don't know what they would have compared like in terms of like maneuverability, not that it really matters for an interceptor, but they had similar wing loading, they had similar thrust to weight ratios, the Arrows were slightly higher. They had broadly similar ranges on internal fuel. Like, there was just no real advantage the Arrow had besides being able to carry more weaponry because it was bigger, and redundancy of 2 engines, 2 crew, which is useful in Canada. Like, again, the Arrow was a good plane, it just is not what people say it is. Canadians turned the Arrow into what the Americans thought the MiG-25 was. It's fucking schizophrenia on a national scale. And this is, like, it's not like TSR-2 with the British, where only esoteric aviation knowers are even aware of TSR-2's existence, and they make a big stink about it. TSR-2 was broadly a similar story, by the way. It's not like that. Every Canadian knows about the Arrow, and every Canadian has been raised since birth to believe that the Arrow was this great mark of shame upon Canada's history, and it was perpetrated upon us by the Americans. Like, it's just, it is actually schizophrenia. So yeah, that mod, when it comes out, I might check it out. I'm not expecting anything good from it. We'll see. I want to be pleasantly surprised. This server's unplayable, dude. This server's actually fucking unplayable now. The fucking teams, dude. It's nice to see Gilson and Stella on. Too bad I can't fucking play with them without making the stack even worse, and also the server's not playable anyway. I don't even know if I want to take off, because my game's probably going to freeze as soon as I'm flying towards a mountain. Like, it's just constantly freezing. I doubt it, Super. I doubt it. It's probably going to get worse once I'm off the ground. My game should not be running this badly. Like, I have a good enough PC that DCS should never run like this. Fuck, I hope they've optimized 2.0, because, like, I really want to play 2.0, but if it's gonna be like this, I'm not gonna be able to. Like, I may as well not bother. Yeah, the next version of Enigma's server. Huge gains by turning shadows off? Yes, gamer mode, where I can see under clouds as if it's fucking broad daylight. Fuck that. I made my Mark 2.6 run on Tempest. Godspeed. It was blue stacked when I checked. Maybe it's emptied out since, but it was pretty badly blue stacked. Ah, yes, multi-threading. We'll see how that goes. No, mirrors doesn't help. Mirrors is snake oil. It does nothing. It gives you, like, maybe 2 or 3 more frames a second. Like, mirrors are not the problem. The only time you need to turn mirrors off, or if your PC is legitimately such a potato it can't render them, or if you're using VR and it, like, gives you motion sickness. Like, I have turned the mirrors off before, and it does nothing to make the game run smoother. Like, I gained nothing there. Literally the same frame rate. The problem isn't frame rate, it's stuttering. Like, the way these mirrors are done, they cost almost nothing performance-wise. I'm not the kind of person that cares about 5 frames a second. I care about the game freezing. Which it is doing constantly now, even when I'm off the ground. I think I forgot to raise my nose wheel. Haha, oops. Whoopsie daisies. Come on, man. Game's frozen. Probably gonna... Oh, no. And because I run a couple of mods that don't trigger integrity normally, but they will if the game freezes, like just this radar mod, for example, or the one in the Biggin, every time my game locks up like that, there's a chance I'll get booted back to the fucking main menu. And then I'll have to restart my game. It just gives me the shits, man. Oh, I forgot to launch SRS even. I'm well prepared for this stream. And DCS is running so poorly that when I Alt-Tab and hit the start menu, my PC freezes. It's this server. Like, it's an actual problem with this server specifically, because DCS doesn't normally do this. I don't know what it is, but something that they've got running at the moment is killing my PC. Maybe the server box hasn't been restarted for a couple hours, although I think it restarts every second cycle of the mission, so it should. Oh no, 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 fuck. Hang on, chat. My fucking browser just automatically opened because of a fucking SRS update. I regret starting this stream so much. Come on, come on. My PC is locked up on the fucking Control-Delete screen. My PC is literally locked up on the Control-Delete screen. I don't know if you guys can even still hear me. Come on, you piece of shit. Fucking... My whole PC is completely fucking locked up. And I'm probably gonna fly into the ground here. Oh, 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 come on. SRS really needs a fucking dialogue box to ask your consent before it opens your fucking browser when it tries to update. Because I always forget which, like there's an auto update, a manual update, and a cancel option. I always forget which one opens the browser by, like, automatically. Fucking thing. Right. CPU, I should not be CPU bottlenecked. I have a fucking 5800. Like, this is just stupid. And it's not, like, I shouldn't be RAM bottlenecked either, because I have 32 fucking gigabytes of RAM, and I have, like, 60-something gigabytes of fucking page file. The combination of this map and this mission is just unplayable. And it goes, like, it's completely random. Sometimes I can play this server and it runs beautifully on stream. More often than not, though, it's unplayable. They need to do something about this. I don't know what they can do about it, though, honestly. Overlord, Circus 1-4, set tripwire, 8 miles. 15 minutes till server restart anyway. Maybe the server restart will improve it. I strongly doubt it, but we'll see.
Overlord, copy. Warning 8 nautical miles.
Now my track IR's all janked up. Oh, damn.
Circus 1-4, threat, broad,
Oh,
072,
fucking come on.
7000, hot, faggot.
And I'm frozen in the merge with a fucking MiG-15. This is great. It's gonna extend. There's no reason to wait, what? Is there a SAM site here? I don't even know where I am because my game's been frozen for so long. Oh yeah, I'm over the front line.
Overlord, Gator 16, set tripwire 15. Gator 16, Overlord, copy. Warning 15 nautical miles. Gator 16, merged.
If anyone is wondering why I haven't been playing DCS on stream much since September, you can now see why. I just haven't been playing DCS, I don't enjoy it anymore. Overlord, Circus 1-4, bogey dope.
Circus 1-4, Overlord, raw, 156, 6, 4000, hot, faggot.
Probably friendly over there. Above me. Saw contact of it. Probably not going to pick up a 15 on radar. I can't even fucking turn towards him without dropping about half my frames, so... OBS isn't dropping many frames, the game is fucking dropping them like it's going out of style, though. What's that? Fucking... No. Overlord, Circus 1-4, bogey dope. I'm gonna clean my monitor as well. Really? Bomb racks? Fuck me, dude. Why does that bug keep regressing? I thought they fixed it years ago. Overlord, Circus 1-4, bogey dope.
Circus 1-4, Overlord, raw, 049, 10, 6000, flank southwest, faggot.
And it freezes. Come on. I can't even pick out the contacts because the frames are so low. Well, to be fair, that's probably a good thing. I can't cheese the radar today. Not as easily, anyway. Oh, hello. What are you? That's not him, that'll be something else, but I'm curious what it is.
Circus 1-4, threat, raw, 0838, 5000, hot, Frogfoot.
Oh, come on. Don't freeze. It's a C-25. Okay. So he can shoot me in the face. He has R-60s. Or R-60Ms.
Circus 1-4, merged, 075, 4000, Frogfoot. Gator 16, threat, raw, 325, 15, 6000.
And my game freezes right as I merge, of course.
Gator 16, threat, raw, 017, 15, 6000, beam east, fishnet.
Overlord Circus 1-4, regular.
Circus 1-4, Overlord, raw, 259, 4000, beam south, Frogfoot.
He's turning. I can't see him. He's probably beneath me lining up for a head-on shot.
Circus 1-4, threat, raw, 269, 8, 6000.
It's fucking unplayable, dude.
Fast, fishnet.
Completely unplayable. Why no, it's not useless. It's fucking excellent. People call it useless because they don't know what they're doing. It's actually broken how good it is. You can use this for look down, shoot down, and you should not be able to. Like, you should not be able to use this at low altitude and still spot targets, but it does, easily. You just need to know how to use it.
Circus 1-4, merged, 288, 6000, fishnet. Gator 16, threat, raw, 038, 15, 3000, beam southeast, fishnet.
I've got multiple clips and highlights up on my channel showing how to use the radar and how good it is. Okay, Passman, I'm assuming you're fairly new to DCS, or at least you've probably come from a place where there's a lot of misinformation. Anything you read on Hoggit, anything you're told by people that know DCS, they're full of shit. 90% of the people that play this game couldn't find their asshole with both hands. I'm not saying that to be toxic, I mean it. Like, legitimately, they just don't know what they're doing. They can play it for 10 years and they'll never learn. He's behind me.
Circus 1-4, threat, raw, 330.
I don't know if he's seeing me, though.
3000, hot, fishnet.
Fucking clouds. Come on. Stuttering is doing my head in. Probably going to end up either inside a mountain or with a missile on the backside.
Circus 1-4, merged, 324, 3000, fishnet.
60-degree dive in clouds. This is fine. Turn for a second. Come on, stop freezing. I can't even see what the radar's locked onto because my game is stuck. Yeah. Yeah. What's all that beeping? It's my radar warning receiver.
Gator 16.
We're done. This is fucking trash. Yeah, I got killed by a fucking 21 that I couldn't do anything against because my game was locked up so badly. Yeah, the constant tone was the Sidewinder, the beeping was the RWR. What about ECW Discord? Nobody there knows what they're talking about either. There are like 3 people on that server that know their shit, and the rest of them are fucking morons. I don't post on that server anymore, specifically because I got sick of having to tell people how to do something 5 times in the same day, and them still ignoring me. Like, Enigma's Discord has just degenerated into blue players crying about the R3R, and how unfair and red biased everything is, and red players, like, intentionally spreading misinformation just to rile up the blues because it's funny. Always found the new threat beeping rather annoying. It doesn't bother me. My entire game is completely frozen up now. Yeah, now we've got failed integrity because my game's been freezing. Hellcat, thanks for the follow. I don't know why on earth you would do that today, but takes all sorts, I guess. I'm gonna have to kill the game with Task Manager. Holy shit, you're an asshole, bye. See you later, don't come back. I really don't care. Like, if you guys can't handle me when I'm having a bad day, I don't want you when I'm having a good day. It's annoying because I did actually want to play DCS and now I really don't know what to do. Because it's not going to perform any better if I restart the game, right? No, it is DCS. It is DCS, Super. DCS is literally the only thing using resources. It's because DCS has apparently had a regression of that bug, and the server is running a very, very heavyweight mission. Yeah, how dare I call bads bad? Look, I'm going. Okay, well, let's have a little short just chatting stream while I decide what I'm going to do for the rest of this. The issue with DCS players is a lot of them think they know. A lot of them think they know how things work. Either they think they know because they read Chuck's guides once and they don't realize that Chuck's guides are written specifically to get you into the game in a hurry. They're not how things work in real life, and they don't necessarily reflect how things play in multiplayer. That, or they think they know because they watched Dogfights on the History Channel and that it is a 100% perfect documentary that would never exaggerate anything. So you end up with, like, let's take Enigma's Discord for an example. You end up with a bunch of people with a completely inflated, unrealistic sense of what an aircraft should be able to do because they haven't read the actual manuals for the real plane. They've never, like, looked into the history of how the real plane was used or the circumstances that it was used in. Like, for example, when the Mirage F1 was announced, they all whipped themselves into a frenzy thinking the Mirage F1 was going to become the new Lord God King of Cold War dogfights, and that it would beat the MiG-21 easily. Like, people were... seriously, I can't be... I don't want to bring up Discord on my screen and show you guys, but if you go into Enigma's Discord and search for posts that came before the Mirage F1 was released and mention it, a large number of them are people hyping up this aircraft as, like, this amazing thing that, oh, you know, one of the guys that used to play the MiG-21 on Red a lot was like, oh, I'm sorry, I love you, MiG-21, but when the F1 comes out, I'm never going to fly the MiG again because I'm going to body MiGs left and right. Guess what ended up not happening when the F1 came out? Because the F1, as it turns out, was not actually that good. It was an interceptor. It was one of the few things in DCS which actually was an interceptor, not a frontline fighter. And it has a bunch of little sneaky things that make it not so good in a DCS environment. Like, the cockpit visibility is quite bad, especially if you don't have VR. Like, it's got these great big jail bars either side of the windscreen, which block your vision. The layout of the cockpit's not great. The radar it's still overperforming, but it's also pretty, like, clunky. The interface for it's not very good. It's a heavier aircraft. It's about 50% heavier than a MiG-21, which means it carries more fuel, but it's heavier, so it's a little slower to respond to control inputs. It has really bad adverse yaw for some reason. And that's even after they added spoilers to try and fix the adverse yaw, so you can imagine what it was like before that. It's not that good. And it turns out that the historical instances of Mirage F1s getting air-to-air victories are because they had well-trained pilots who were well-disciplined, being flown with good, you know, ground control intercept against novice opponents. Like the MiG-21s they shot down in Angola, a couple of MiG-21s. They didn't even shoot down that many. Like, not many aircraft were shot down in air-to-air engagements in Angola. So good days. Cheers to follow. Good to see ya. And anyone else I may have missed today. there were a couple of air-to-air engagements that both sides didn't disengage from immediately, and the ones that resulted in losses for the Angolans/Cubans were because they sent inexperienced pilots up that had pretty poor situational awareness, because the radar picture over Angola is quite bad for both sides. And the more experienced South African pilots were able to engage on their terms. Like, in many cases, they simply just turned in behind unaware opponents, or they would merge, and then the MiGs would lose sight of them, and they'd turn in behind them and kill them. Like, DCS players don't want you to know this, but the vast majority of air-to-air shootdowns throughout history, from World War I through to present day, the guy that got shot down didn't realize he was about to be shot down. He didn't even know there was anyone near him. It's not very exciting. Real-life air-to-air combat's exciting because there's a risk you might die at any moment. It's not exciting because people are doing these complex ballet routines all over the sky. That's quite rare. It's always been quite rare. More often than not, you have relatively inexperienced pilots whose most creative maneuver is a steady left-hand turn. And whoever gets into the back slot of that left-hand turn is going to win the dogfight, right? Or whoever has a friend trailing him to clean his tail. DCS players just don't understand any of the context around aircraft. They're Kumas, they're equipment Kumas, right? They'll bury their heads in kill-death ratios and radar range statistics and maximum speed, and they'll never actually look past that and realize that the aircraft exists in a real physical space, piloted by real humans, with real training oversights or real, real limitations, and they never add the two together. And so you end up with people hyping themselves into a frenzy for an aircraft that comes out and they realize they hate it. It's like the Tomcat. How many people hyped themselves into a frenzy for the F-14, flew it once or twice after it came out and realized they fucking hated it because it doesn't hold their dick for them. It doesn't do everything for them. The reason I don't fly the Tomcat more is because I'm not very good at BVR, and I also don't usually have a Rio available. I enjoy flying the Tomcat, like, actually piloting the Tomcat, I really, really like. It's a lot of fun to fly. I'm in a minority there. Most DCS players don't like flying the Tomcat, or at least not in combat, because it will do things that they didn't ask it to. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but especially because Hoggett keeps telling people to buy the F-18 as their first module, the vast bulk of DCS players have zero stick and rudder skills. If you put them in a real aircraft, they would kill themselves within minutes of takeoff, because they just don't know how to fly. And you put them in something like a Tomcat or a MiG-21 or, God, even the F-5, which is like Babby's first jet fighter, it's so easy to fly, they will kill themselves and they'll blame the plane. So, to kind of come back to what got me onto this topic, even Enigma's Discord. For a while, Enigma's Discord was pretty good because there were a lot of people in there who were well informed, they were very experienced in the DCS community, and they actually did know what they were talking about. Unfortunately, enough people that think they knew what they were talking about came in that it just flooded the place with misinformation, and now the signal-to-noise ratio is garbage, basically. So I don't even really check there anymore, because I just know I'm going to see somebody spouting some stupid garbage, and if I correct them, I'm going to get dogpiled by other idiots that think they know what they're talking about, and if I don't correct them, then people are going to just follow along with it anyway. So I've given up on Enigma's Discord. Fly-by-wire and its consequences for the Western world. Really. I mean, it's not even, like, to say fly-by-wire is bad. It's not. Fly-by-wire opens up options for you, if you use it well. But, I mean, if you look at training schemes for real-world air forces, even the US Air Force, well, especially the US Air Force, the basic trainers, none of them are fly-by-wire. They might have digital avionics now. They might have glass displays in the cockpit instead of steam gauges, but they're still not fly-by-wire. You have to learn to fly a plane before they can teach you to fly a modern fighter, right? It's always been that way. Like, during World War II, you didn't just bung some fucking pimply teenager in a Spitfire and tell him to have at it. You'd have to fly them around the Tiger Moth, make sure they knew what, how to get off the ground and then back onto it without breaking the plane or themselves. Get some hours up, teach them how to do basic navigation, stuff like that. Then you'd put them in maybe a Miles Magister or something, and then they go from that to a Spitfire. Like, you don't just throw someone straight into an advanced fighter, but that's what DCS players do. That's what Hoggit tells people to do. People go on Hoggit, which are like, Hoggit shouldn't exist, Reddit shouldn't exist, but Hoggit in particular is such a blight upon the DCS community. I'm sure I'm triggering so many people now, because Hoggit is, but like, the DCS, I don't give a fuck. Hoggit is such a fucking cancer on the DCS community, because it gives people bad ideas. None of them know what they're talking about. Again, it's the same problem as anywhere else. None of them know what they're talking about. And they give people bad advice, like buy the F-18 for your first module. Now, I get it. If you only have so much money to spend on DCS, and you want a plane that does everything, well, there's the Hornet. But the problem is, if you have little to no experience with advanced jet aircraft, either in real life or in another sim, or even in real life, because there's a disconnect between the sim and the real world, if you don't have that experience from somewhere else, it's going to hurt you if you buy that thing. You're going to spend, like, years studying up on all of this and that MFD page, and you're never going to work out how the fuck a plane actually flies. So my recommendation to people, when people ask me, what should I get for the game, I'll say, Hoggit will tell you to get the Hornet, tell Hoggit to fuck off. Get the F-86, or the MiG-15, or the MiG-21, or the MiG-19, or maybe the F-5. I think the F-5's a little too handholdy for, like, brand new players. Most people would see that as a good thing. I don't. The F-5 will teach you bad habits. The MiG-21 will too, but they'll be different bad habits. But I tell people, buy the older aircraft. You need to learn to fly buy a Warbird even. You need to learn to fly a plane before you advance to something like the Hornet. Like, shit, if you're obsessed with the US Navy shit, buy the Tomcat. The Tomcat is hands-on. Like, you've got to actually fly that plane. But people just get recommended the fucking Hornet. A4 mod's a good free plane. Yeah, the A4 mod is like one of maybe 5 or 6 mods in the game that is actually worth getting. Most mods made for DCS are just really... They don't even fly like planes, let alone like what plane they're supposed to be, but the A4 is really good. The A4, the... trying to think. The C-130 mod, if that still works, I don't think it's supported anymore, that was pretty decent. Now, I can't speak to how a C-130 flies, so I don't know if it's accurate, but it was a pretty high-effort mod. So that, the A4, the Black Hawk mod is a fun toy, but it doesn't fly as much like a Black Hawk as it really should, and it doesn't... It's not Gazelle level in terms of flight model, but it's not up to the same standard as the actual, like, the other official helicopters in DCS. So the Black Hawk is a good mod, but with many asterisks after it. And hopefully they can address that as time goes on. VSN stuff, don't bother. Nothing VSN makes is worth the time of day unless you're making, like, machinima. In which case, then it's just pretty eye candy. People are kind of going, oh... VSN F4 EFM, F104 EFM. EFM, an external flight model, is like the highest standard of flight model in DCS. It's equivalent to a professional flight model, I think it is, which is the internal ED kind. So PFM is the ED version, EFM is the external third-party version. EFMs don't mean shit unless you actually have an experienced person making them. Hey, Brammerman, thanks for the follow. If you put shit in, you get shit out. Like, if you don't have extensive experience in aeronautical engineering and coding, or at least systems engineering, you have no business making a flight model. Sorry, not sorry. Like, this is to give you some perspective. I'm not an engineer, but I happen to know a few engineers who work in this kind of field. And flight model coding is such an esoteric black art that most aeronautical engineers don't know how to do it. It is a specific, like, really narrow specification within aeronautical engineering, and it's kind of a crossover field with systems engineering or, like, coding. It requires such a specific skill set that most people can't do it. And if they try and do it, they'll fuck it up. So, like, there's a lot of sort of tokenism in the DCS community in the sense that if the word EF or if the abbreviation EFM is mentioned, it automatically must be good. Oh, they threw out. They said the funny flight model word, so it must be good. It's not. A simple flight model that is given the right parameter, like a simple flight model is what the AI uses at the moment until they do the new general one, and it's what most mods used up until recently. That's an interesting name. Thanks for the follow. A good SFM with the correct numbers put into it is better than an EFM with bad numbers put into it, or with with gaps left in aircraft behaviors. So, in general, I wouldn't use mods as a way to get into flying in DCS, except the A4, because the A4 is pretty good. Like, I would say the A4 is probably the only mod where I would straight up say it's more or less on par with an official module. Some of Grinelli's stuff is apparently pretty good. I could never get some of the mods to work. I might have to give some of them a spin sometime. But he is working on an official module now, so presumably he has some idea what he's doing. But like VSN stuff is not worth the time of day. Cubanace's stuff, forget it. Don't start me. So yeah, if you're gonna do the modding thing, A4. Let me catch up on chat a bit. Play second front. I don't have it. Don't worry, everyone. DLSS and multi-threading is going to fix all the frame rate issues. DLSS is useless to me because I already run at 1080p. DLSS is just for people with big monitors and high res. So you can downscale and then only sharpen parts of the image which you think the player is going to notice. It just buys you overhead. It doesn't actually like fix anything. It actually decreases the graphical fidelity of the game in favor of speed. The idea being that you can get enough performance from decreasing the image quality that you can add more detail and make the player not realize you've just decreased the image quality. Multi-threading, we'll see how that goes. But again, with Enigmas, the issue is the mission more than the game. And it's, like I said, it's on and off. If I was not streaming, that would probably not have been as bad of a problem. I would still be getting stutters now and then, but it would probably run a lot smoother. The music is louder than you. Sometimes it is like that. Yeah, hang on. I probably should have turned that down earlier. It's kind of early in the morning. Neighbors might have the shits with me. Oh well. Hey Veritech, good to see you, man. Oh, wait for the fucking Phantom cope? Yeah, so, to go back to the Mirage F1 thing, my going theory is the same thing's going to happen when the Phantom drops. We're getting an F4E, right? An Air Force Phantom. You have no look-down capability. That radar cannot cope with targets below it near the ground. Unless it's exploitable because it's not implemented properly, like, say, the F5 radar, or the MiG-21 radar, or literally any other pulse radar in DCS, including the Tomcat in pulse mode, which is better done than the others, but still exploitable. The F4 has this amazing kill-death ratio because it always outnumbered its opponents. It was flown by highly trained pilots, with the benefit of extremely well thought out support systems. Like US pilots over Vietnam, for instance, they had the early warning radar station and GCI at Da Nang. They had the EC-121s, which was an AWACS version of the Connie, the Super Constellation. They had Red Crown, which was the US Navy picket ships just off the Vietnamese coast, with GCIs on board. They had information being passed through CIA comms intercepts, where they'd, translate what the Vietnamese were telling their, like, they were basically just ghosting. Like when you're playing Counter-Strike and someone's ghosting, they were doing that. They were sitting there listening to the Vietnamese comms, translating them, and then sending them to the US pilots once it filtered through enough levels of, can we release this without giving away the fact that we've compromised their comms. US pilots over Vietnam had literally every advantage you could possibly want to have, including massively outnumbering the Vietnamese, even in Vietnamese airspace. That's why the Phantom has so many kills and relatively few losses in air-to-air combat, because they were usually attacking MiGs that were already trying to hit Skyhawks or intruders or something. Like, the Vietnamese would send up MiGs in small numbers, after an incoming raid and try and make a hit and run attack because they knew that they couldn't dogfight. Like, they just couldn't, right? They were so badly outnumbered. But people don't look at the context, and they just look at the numbers, and they go, "Oh, Phantom amazing. It kicks the shit out of MiGs. It beat the MiG in every engagement they ever had." Like, well, yeah, because it had every advantage going for it. Now, if you look at them on an individual level, the Phantom's actually quite a good aircraft, like, performance-wise, but it's not perfect. And it has a number of the same problems the F1 has. The cockpit visibility is atrocious. Like, you think the MiG-21's cockpit's bad? Fucking wait until you're in the Phantom, dude. Like, it's atrocious. The cockpit layout is poor. The radar is... You need a second guy in the backseat operating it. He needs to know what he's doing, and then you've got a repeater in front of you. It does have bore sight mode, which is something. Like, it has bore sight, and the version we're getting has computer-aided... computer-aided acquisition, which is a close combat mode that attempts to filter out spurious returns. It cannot do look-down with computer-aided acquisition. That is a fucking brain worm that War Thunder players invented to try and make the F4 better. The F4E cannot do look-down, shoot-down. It cannot. Like, it can't. So they're going to have an F4 that can only engage targets above it with its Sparrows. It can sustain a turn reasonably well. It can pull pretty decent Gs when it's in the right configuration. It's fast. It has pretty good thrust, but it has bad visibility. It's got a radar that's kind of clunky to work with. And it's heavy. A Phantom weighs, what, like 2-3 MiG-21s? When it's combat loaded, it's a heavy plane. It's going to take some time to get it to change direction. It's like the F1. It has inertia. Well, if it's modeled correctly, it'll have inertia. It can't just flick direction one way or the other at the drop of a hat like a much smaller, lighter aircraft can, like the F5 or the MiG-21. She takes time to change direction. So does the Tomcat. And this is the kind of thing that catches people out. This is the kind of thing that a MiG-21 or an F5 or a MiG-19 or something can use against the Phantom when it comes out. And people aren't aware of it, or they just ignore it willingly because they think that kill-death ratios are everything. So yeah, I think when the Phantom comes out, it's going to be exactly like the F1. People are going to hype themselves into a frenzy, thinking it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. It's going to come out, and probably fully half of the people that bought it are going to realize they hate it, and they're not going to fly it. And the people that do continue to fly it are either going to suffer because they don't know how to use it, and then complain that it's unfairly gimped or red bias or something like that to try and get it buffed because we're playing a simulator and the word buffed is totally a normal and sane thing to say, right? Or they're going to be the tiny minority, like minuscule minority of DCS players who I call knowers. They're people, knower as in, you know, to know something. They understand the context of the aircraft. They understand it has disadvantages. They understand that it's going to take them some time to adjust to those, but they will adjust to those. And they will become really fucking dangerous in the Phantom because they will learn how to use it. They will learn its weaknesses as well as its strengths. So they will recognize, oh, if I do this, I'm going to expose myself to this counterplay and this, like, that is a bad idea against a MiG. Let me do this instead. Those people become really fucking dangerous. They are such a tiny minority of the DCS community, it's not even funny. Like, most of these people are on first-name basis with each other because there's so few of them. And those will be the people to look out for in the Phantom. Everyone else? No. Free meals for people like me that fly the MiG-21. Phantom manual out. The real manuals are, which are the only ones you need. Heat-blow manuals, honestly, aren't very good. They're kind of... They're not super well organized, and they cut down on a lot of information for brevity. If you really want to get a head start and you really have the commitment to do it, get your hands on the real documents and start reading them. If you don't have the attention span to read the real documents, that's fine. I don't either. I have to skim manuals when I'm looking for things. But, you know, temper your expectations, basically. We'll be back in game in a little while, guys. I'm just going to catch up on chat. Then we'll try the server again, and if it's smoother, we might be able to actually get some DCS gameplay in today. Maybe. Might actually boot the game up now. Mirage F1 is a boom and zoom plane, pretty much. And when you use it like that, it's actually quite strong. Like, that's the thing. When you use the Mirage F1 to its strengths, it's good. Oh my god, who could have thought? Recommend Fighters Over Israel by Lon O'Nordine. See how French and British jets perform in real combat with some crazy stories and basically all wars since 47 to 99 with great detail. I have to get my hands on that. That's one I don't have yet. Yeah, the F-14 is awesome. Like, the F-14 is a lot of fun. I just don't fly it as much as I'd like. And that's another thing, too. Like, the thing that started this rant, the whole idea that 90% plus of the DCS community shouldn't be listened to because they don't know what they're talking about, and Hoggit in particular. Because Reddit, the blight upon humanity that it is designed the way it is, where you upvote or downvote things, it means that whoever has the wittiest comment or the most popular opinion, like whoever's opinion lines up the most with the current zeitgeist, their shit will go to the top, and somebody that actually knows what they're talking about will get downvoted. I literally had this happen to me this morning. It's a shit format because it means misinformation rises to the top and populism is the order of the day. And if you want to know how populism works out for humanity, just look at the political situation of, I don't know, throw a dart at a globe and see where it lands. Same shit everywhere. So, Hoggit in particular has a habit of spreading false impressions of aircraft because people are trying to get upvotes because they want other Reddit creatures to think that they're funny. So you have this popular Hoggit opinion that the MiG-21 is trying to kill you, which is fucking garbage. It's not. It's easy to fly. It's one of the easiest aircraft in the game to land once you actually take 30 seconds to understand how it works. It really is that easy. It's literally 30 seconds. That's all you need. It has a blown flap system, keep some power on while landing, don't engage the afterburner with the flaps fully out. Done. MiG-21, land, easy. Same thing with the Tomcat. Hoggit perpetuated all these Top Gun fanboy myths that the Tomcat spins super easily and it's irrecoverable and all this shit. Fucking, like, the Tomcat is she's a fucking puppy. You gotta do something profoundly moronic to get the Tomcat to depart controlled flight and spin, unless you're really unlucky. Like, so the one situation where things like compressor stalls become a factor, in real life, mind you, is like what happened to Kara Hultgreen, where just this combination of factors added up to, unfortunately, cause her crash. You know, when you're in the burble of the carrier and you're kind of offline, so you give it a bit of rudder to try and swing the nose over, but then that causes bad airflow across one intake, and the Pratts don't like that, so they shit the bed. That's a problem. In DCS, I think I've compressor stalled the Tomcat unintentionally twice, and it recovered both times. It didn't even spin. I just got a couple of beeps and bangs out of the engine, and then it was fine, because I stopped doing the thing it didn't like me doing. The Tomcat, to spin it, you have to practically force it to spin. I've had, I think, one incipient spin at high altitude where it didn't even make a full turn before I recovered it. It made like a quarter turn or something and I recovered it. Because that was like within my first week of flying the jet in DCS, by the way. Because I just vertically climbed up, bled too much energy, and then tried to pull a turn behind somebody, and I just lost it. I've never had the Tomcat unintentionally go into a fully developed spin. Never. Not once. I've had it go incipient at like 10 meters altitude. That will kill you. But that's more a case of you're expecting too much out of the aircraft and you're in a situation which is dangerous anyway. Any aircraft is dangerous at 10 meters off the ground at low speed. The Tomcat's not a dangerous plane in DCS. It's not a difficult plane in DCS. Like, the difficult part is the Rio's job. That's the hard part. All the difficult shit in the Tomcat is concentrated in the back seat. The fucking front seat is the easiest shit on earth. Like, I don't understand where this Hoggit perception that the Tomcat's a difficult or dangerous aircraft came from, aside from them watching too many fucking movies. But this is what I mean. Like, this is what I mean about the DCS community and people not knowing what they're fucking talking about. They just... It turns into an echo chamber of pop culture memes and, you know, badly researched historical, air quotes, documentaries. MiG-21's an interceptor, don't you start. Don't you start, Veritech. If you guys want to hear the whole MiG-21 interceptor lore, some madman did like an 8-hour-long stream trying to teach people to stop having bad opinions about the MiG-21 in DCS, and they may have covered that in about the first 40 minutes of the stream. I repeat it so often on this channel that I probably shouldn't go through it again today. Hate Hoggets, get the F18 advice. I would have gotten it if you hadn't told me not to. Yeah, it's the default advice Hoggett gives, and it's probably caused so many people to quit DCS. Because guess what? Not everyone is a fucking IT guy who takes joy in pages after pages of systems. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to enjoy that. That's totally fine. I get that. That's totally valid. But not everyone's like that. There are people who come to DCS, and maybe they came from a World War II sim, or maybe they just haven't played a flight sim before, but they want to get the feeling of flight. And they come to it and they're told, oh, get the Hornet. And then they look at the manual for the Hornet, and all these fucking millions of MFD pages, and they're just like, fuck this, why did I get this? I'm going back to War Thunder. Like, Hoggett's get the Hornet as your first plane advice has probably driven off more players from DCS than anything else in DCS, including its performance issues, or its bugs, or, you know, the attitudes that sometimes, you know, like, ED's community managers, or the third parties, or whoever takes to the player base. That probably pales in comparison to the get the Hornet as your first module advice for driving away new players. I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to apologize for saying it. Came back to Enigma's Discord, mostly post photos of cool planes and esoteric prototypes. I'll occasionally get tagged there and have a quick chat with people, but like, there were two problems with Enigma's Discord for me. One of them was the signal to noise ratio becoming flooded with dumb shits, like I said earlier. And the other one was it was eating up too much of my time because I have no self-control. So I was sitting there chatting with people like about all these cool esoteric planes, or arguing with people because they said something stupid. And I was just like wasting so much time doing it that I've fallen behind in keeping up with my own Discord, let alone any others I want to stay active in. So I was just like, I'm going to have to change things here. So I've just stopped checking Enigma's Discord. I have really bad, I think it's called fear of missing out. I don't know if there's an actual medical name for it, but it's like, it's a sort of aspect of ADHD, I guess. I have that really bad. To the point where those of you who have seen me scroll up 3 months to reply to something you don't even remember saying, that's what's causing that. I'm like, oh, somebody posted something interesting here. I wonder what that discussion was about. Oh, they're talking about something really cool. I wonder how they got to that discussion. I just keep progressively scrolling up as I find more and more interesting things until before I know it, I'm trying to catch up to like a year's worth of shit in Discord. It is not good for me. It's not good for anyone else. So to try and control that a bit, and also to improve my mental health after reading the same dumb takes 20 different times from 20 different people, I've stopped checking Enigma's Discord pretty much, except for 1 or 2 channels which I check every couple of weeks. It's not the plane, it's the pilot. Absolutely, Trailhead. Abso-fucking-lutely. Like, there are planes that I will generally not be afraid of if I encounter them. Like most Mirage F1s, I'm not afraid of once I get too close for an R530 to the face. Mirage F1s. Mirage 2000s are a different story. Those things are terrifying. But there are certain people who, if they're in the Mirage F1, I'm suddenly afraid of it. Like, that happens with a lot of different aircraft. There are aircraft in DCS that I'm not normally concerned about, but if the right person is in them, they are the scariest thing on Earth. Like most Tomcats I encounter on Enigma's server are flying slow, they're not paying attention to their radar, they're probably scanning the wrong zone, they're flying directly at the nearest threat, they're just cruising for a bruising, just, you know, as the saying goes. And when I come screeching in at Mark 2.1 in my MiG-29 and blast them in the face with an R-27 before F-poling them, it's the biggest risk is that I hold my shot too long because I don't want to waste one of my 2 missiles, and they get a sparrow away just quickly enough that they can trade with me. However, if I see somebody in Tomcat matching me, doing Mark 2.1 coming the other way, I start to get real nervous, because it means they know what they're doing. And it means that any missiles we exchange are going to arrive at about the same time. And even if our missiles miss, once we're in the merge, all bets are off. So, like, Taihu here in chat is one of those people. I am afraid of him in a Tomcat, because the last time I met him in a Tomcat, our initial exchange of missiles missed each other because we both defeated each other's missiles, and then we got into a merge, and I lost sight of him, and he killed me. I'm pretty confident in the MiG-29 against a lot of aircraft, but when I'm up against an opponent that actually knows what they're doing, And especially if I start to make mistakes, they build up on top of each other, then I get scared. I think there's a... I don't know if it got highlighted, but there was a fight I had with Pixie when he was in the F5 and I was in the 29, and I knew it was a bad idea committing to this engagement when I went into it. So there's mistake number one. I know it's a bad idea, but I've committed anyway. Mistake number two was following him down to low altitude and getting into a circle fight. Mistake number three was focusing so much on not losing sight of him and trying not to get third party that I wasn't watching my speed. The MiG-29, you've got to jockey the throttle constantly in a dogfight because it gets too fast too quickly. It accelerates like crazy. It's such a clean airframe with so much power. And once it gets too fast, it can't turn anymore. It's not just because of the G limiter, it's not just because of the angle of attack limiter, it's because of aerodynamics. The MiG-29, as it speeds up, the center of pressure shift is enough that you basically lose a lot of the authority in your control surfaces. The controls aren't locking up as such, it's that you still have full deflection on the controls, but the air is just not there for them to bite into, right? Because the center of pressure is shifted away from them. And so yeah, like I panicked and I got into a really bad situation against him. I fired off all my missiles in bad shots that I normally would not even think of taking, but I was desperate, so I did it out of desperation, and they all missed. I tried a couple of gunshots, but because I was kind of shaky, I missed. I barely got away with my life, and then I think I got shot down as I was landing by, I think it was Kebab got me. But that's what I mean, like, the plane is only part of the equation, the pilot's part of the equation, and the pilot's current mental state is the other part of the equation. It's always the dollars per capability math there at Hoggett. Yeah, you're not wrong. And that's why you see them kicking and screaming so much every time an older aircraft is announced that doesn't have more capabilities. If Hoggett had its way, there would be nothing flyable in DCS except multi-role fighters, like modern multi-role fighters, because they don't want anything that doesn't have the capability to do everything under the sun, because... like, I'm not going to say they're cheapskates. I get it. Not everyone can afford to splash out on DCS. I spend more money than I really ought to on this game. I'm fucking poor as shit, right? If I didn't spend money on this game, I'd still be poor as shit, but I might have slightly better quality of life. I get it. I really do get it, but on Hoggett, it becomes such a brainworm that even people who can afford to splash out will still consider everything on the basis of dollars per capability. Start with Su-25T, then MiG-29 and AJS-37. It's a pretty decent progression. The MiG-29's a really, like, not overlooked, I guess. It's a really underappreciated aircraft in DCS because of the way it has these little quirks that the Su-27 doesn't, the F-15 doesn't. The MiG-29 is my favorite of the FC-3 aircraft. The Su-25 is pretty close. I would like the Su-25 to feel a little more alive, but hey, maybe that's just how it really is. Maybe it really is just that rock steady of a plane in real life. It's a pretty good aircraft. But the 29, just, it's so visceral to fly, and that's why I love it. And it teaches you things. It teaches you energy management, it teaches you throttle management. You know what? Let's talk about throttle management, because that's something nobody brings up, but it's probably the most important skill you can have in DCS. Mike Tango Charlie, cheers for follow. So I was watching Ultrasaurus fly in Misfits, like 2-3 weeks ago, and she was doing the landing challenge, the Maverick landing challenge, where you fly the Misfits Hornet and try and land it on the boat. Now, Ultrasaurus plays DCS as well, so she's no stranger to landing things on boats, but it's slightly different in Misfits. You're flying a Super Hornet, not a Legacy Hornet. The flight model's not really that great because it's, you know, it's a free movie tie-in. They didn't exactly go to NASA and ask for data on the Super Hornet. It's not to say Misfits can't model that kind of stuff, it's just to say that they didn't bother in that case because it was a free add-on. But, you know, with a little practice you can get it pretty good. Even I can do it, and as anyone who's a regular here knows, I'm allergic to landing things on boats. So I was watching her try and do it, and she kept having trouble with, like, she would bolter it, or she would ramp strike, or just she'd set herself up with bad approaches because she was constantly changing what she was doing to try and get a good landing, but no matter what she tried, she couldn't seem to do it, and she had every fucking mansplainer in chat imaginable saying, "Oh, you just need to put the thing on the thing. You just need to follow the ball. Just look at the ball, bro." In fact, she's got an exclamation mark ball command on her channel, like on her channel chat now, because so many people are just saying, "Oh, just watch the ball." Watching the ball is not going to help you if you're having trouble even getting set up in the glide path in the first place. Like, you know, the ball is there to tell you if you're high or low in the glide path. If you're completely in another postcode, it ain't going to help you. And so I'm sitting there watching every second person say, "Oh, just look at the ball. Just look at the ball. It'll be fine. You'll 3-wire it. Look at the ball." And I'm sitting there thinking, what was my problem when I first started trying to carry a land in DCS? Was it looking at the ball? No, because I still don't look at the ball in DCS. I don't care. I visualize the carrier as a very short bush run, or like a bush strip out in the fucking middle of nowhere, right? I try and bush land that shit on the carrier. It works, sort of. But what was my problem? It wasn't the ball. My problem was my throttle management, because I'd either cut the throttle too early and I'd ramp strike it or bounce. In fact, I think all my most recent streamed or recorded carrier landings, I've been in the Skyhawk and I've cut the throttle and bounced. I either did that, or I had too much throttle and I floated it over the wires and I either bolted or I just had to wave off. And it got me thinking, especially in the Hornet, because the engines are kind of slow to respond to the throttles. A lot of, like, turbofans are, right? So I said, "Hey, Ultra, forget the ball. Forget trying to set yourself up high for a steep approach or further out for a shot. Like, forget all that. Just ignore everything else. Do what you did last time, but think about what you're doing with the throttle, and don't cut it. Don't cut it early. Don't push it ahead. Remember, you've got, like," I didn't say it this verbosely, but I was like, "Remember, you've got like a second or so of lag time between what you tell the engine to do and what the engine's actually doing." And after another couple of attempts of just focusing on the throttle, she could do it. That is it. I told her, like, I think the way I explained it to her was like, treat it like a MiG-21. Because that's my go-to approach for everything is, if you're having trouble landing a plane, but you've landed the MiG-21 before in DCS, treat it like a MiG-21. Because 99% of the time, people are having trouble with landing on a runway, on a boat, whatever. It's because, or even in a helicopter, right? It's because they're fucking manhandling the throttle without realizing that the engine needs time to respond to it. And so they'll be compensating for something that happened 2 seconds ago. And they'll overcook it. Like, you get into these pilot-induced oscillations where you feel like you don't have enough power, so you bump the throttle forwards, and then you give it too much, and then you realize you've given it too much, and so you're just constantly back and forth of doing these ones. And inevitably you're going to hit too hard because you don't have enough power, or you're going to just bounce off because you have too much power, or you're just going to float. Throttle management is key. Like, you know what, guys? If you want to get good at landing, if you want to get good at flying anything, practice formation flying, because that is all throttle management. It's something I'm bad at, but I'm working on it. It's all throttle management. Just try and sit on somebody's wing. Don't worry about being in a perfect hand-holding fingertip formation. Don't worry about that. Just put them in one spot on your canopy and keep them there. That specific spot. Draw fucking, on your screen, get a fucking felt tip pen, or like a one you can erase, and draw a little, like, circle on the screen and keep them in that circle. Don't let them drift forwards or backwards out of it. A little bit of up and down's okay, but keep them in that circle. And once you can hold them in that circle without them drifting forwards and backwards, if they're just leaving a constant throttle setting, mind you, that's what you want. That's how you get good. Technoclerk, the stream so far has been an unmitigated disaster. So we're just chilling out and having a catch-up to chat session while I consider whether I want to torture myself in DCS again or not. DCS we have is not the same one as Vietnam. Yeah, exactly. Like, people ignore variants, especially people who fly modern blue stuff. They like to pretend that the 2005 era F-16 we have is the same as the 1976 F-16 that's just being, you know, released from the factory, which it is patently not. Seen some dudes with experience fly the F5 for the first time. I think that plane teaches energy management. It does. It really does. I gained a whole new level of appreciation for the F5 once I learned to not blow all my speed by pulling the stick to my guts. And once you learn to manage your energy in the F5, it's really, really strong. You know, there's a lot of debate in Cold War sort of DCS servers. Oh, the MiG-21's overpowered against the F5. Oh, it's faster, it carries more missiles, whatever. No. If you're in a situation where any of those things matter, it's because you fucked up and engaged him on his terms. Don't do that. Engage him on your terms, even. The F5 is really good at sustained turns. The MiG-21 has some flight model issues at very low speeds that make it better than it should be in that regime, but it's still not good enough that it will beat a competently flown F5 in that regime. It might scare you into making a mistake, but if you just stick with it, you will eventually grind him down and beat him against all but the absolute best MiG-21, like, MiG-21 mains, essentially, like, you know, Davey. I'm not even going to say like me, because I can't do this anymore. I haven't flown the aircraft enough. But yeah, like, the F5's really strong when it's flown to its strengths. The problem is DCS players don't fly it to its strengths because they come in expecting it to run roughshod over everything because it's American. And when it doesn't do that, they complain. Or they'll say, oh, it's not a real fighter, it's an export light fighter. Give us the real fighter, give us the Phantom. The Phantom's not going to help you. If you can't beat a MiG-21 in an F5, you're sure as shit not going to beat one in a Phantom. Unless you just hit in the face with a Sparrow from 10 miles out. Oh man, I'm falling behind chat again. Whoopsies. Set flight tactics, because till Top Gun became the thing, F4s were useless versus MiG-17s, etc. Yeah, because the pilots did what comes instinctively, which is pull the stick. And for those of you that saw my recent MiG-15 escapades on Enigma server, Vigan players are like that. Every merge I've seen between a MiG-15 and a Vigan recently, especially since the Vigan's flight model got fixed, the Vigan will pull an eye-watering turn and either brick their own engine through compressor stalling it, or get hit by 37mm. Like, that's it. None of them have the single neuron activation required to just extend away, because then the MiG-15 can't do anything to them. They insist on pulling the stick to their guts and turning as hard as possible and just dumping all their speed. That's what the F4 pilots were doing over Vietnam until it was trained out of them by fighting things like A4s painted up as MiG-17s, or F5s, which are quite close in performance to an early MiG-21. And that's the other thing as well, when it comes to, particularly with the US Navy, because the US Air Force is special. But when it comes to the Navy, the reason their Phantoms never got guns built into them is because they didn't need them. Once they actually trained their pilots how to engage, particularly working as an element supporting themselves, like the basic unit of the US Navy is a two-ship element, never a lone aircraft, and not flying welded wing four-ship like the Air Force used to. So you have these flexible structures in place, you have well-trained pilots, they know the limitations of their missiles, they know what a good shot and a bad shot looks like, they're only going to take good shots as much as possible. Suddenly the kill rate goes up, the number of missile failures goes down, and nobody's crowing about needing a gun anymore. Amazing how much a little bit of training and learning can do for you. About the arrow, I swear, if you guys start me on the arrow again, I want that mod to actually do it justice, but I know it won't. I know it's going to be fucking leaf posting cope like it always is. I am glad that that somebody squirreled away the documents for the aircraft, though. Like, genuinely, I'm really glad that that happened. Like I said, it's just for those who are new here. I'm Canadian, despite the accent. I've lived in Australia for a very long time, but I'm from Canada. Even if I wasn't contractually obliged as a Canadian to stand the Avro Arrow, I would anyway. It's a cool plane. It was a really good aircraft, but it was not what people make it out to be. It was just a really good aircraft. It was a contemporary of and competitive with the F-106 Delta Dart. But the F-106 flew 2 years earlier and actually had a mature weapon system. So, you know. Overwatch, cheers for the follow. Like, the Arrow's a cool plane. The Arrow's a really cool plane. And it could have been something really nice if it had continued, but Canada couldn't afford to keep that up. Without foreign purchases, which weren't going to happen because the US wouldn't purchase it because they wanted to protect their own aviation industry. The Brits wouldn't purchase it because first they wanted to protect their own aviation industry, and then the 1957 White Paper came along and convinced the Brits that manned fighters were obsolete. Like, there wouldn't have been any real export customers for it, and so you would have ended up with a similar situation to what happened with the Viggen, where Saab tried to shop it around to everyone and anyone, and nobody ended up buying it. So the Viggen was only operated by Sweden, and it was a good plane. It was a unique plane, but it wasn't what people make it out to be. It wasn't this world beater. It was simply good. Like, even the French stuff, Dassault makes excellent planes, and yet, in the majority of cases, they were still lagging 10 or 20 years behind the US and the USSR in certain aspects of aircraft design. Like, their jet engines in particular were quite woeful. It took the French forever to get good, reliable, powerful engines. Their radar was pretty janky for a while. This is the price you pay for trying to preserve a domestic aviation industry when you're not a superpower. You only have so much money and so many brains in your country. Like, Canada's a tiny country in terms of population. What is it? Like 35 million, I think Canada's population is by now? Australia's 25, so Canada's got slightly more people than Australia. But a country of 35 million, and it's trying to compete with its next-door neighbor who has a population of 300 and something million. And all the natural resources it could ever want. Like, you don't need to be a genius to figure out what's going to happen there. May or may not have learnt people. It might have given us the second coming of Gallinet with the F4E. Good. Good. I want that radar to be every bit as janky as it should be, because I want to learn to do the backseat stuff in the F4. Like, I really like the F5's radar because it's a janky piece of shit. And even if they made it stop overperforming hilariously, so I couldn't exploit it anymore, which I really should stop doing. It's a bad... It sets a bad example to people, but it's just too fun. Like, chasing little blips around that screen, I love it. That's why I want to learn the backseat of the Phantom, especially if it's done properly, so I can't cheese it. I want my skill buffed, yeah, same. Especially after how long of a break I've had. I think the Mirage F1 is currently undertuned. It loses speed really fast, even if it's designated sustained turn AOA in speed. There's a couple things with that, Bram. One of them is... There's a lot that goes into an aircraft with a good sustained turn rate, but one of the important elements is thrust-to-weight ratio. You can counter that with other problems. Like, for example, if you're a delta plan form, you can have an amazing thrust-to-weight ratio, but the induced drag off the delta is going to cancel out the gains off the engine. But you look at things like the F4, it sustains really well. It has a pretty good thrust-to-weight ratio. The Mirage F1 has a combination of problems. It's very draggy, especially with the combat flaps out. It has a pretty nasty adverse yaw tendency at low speeds, which is going to just add problems because then you're getting side area drag off the fuselage every time you try and roll. And you're also getting the, because it uses spoilers in addition to the ailerons, you're getting drag off those as well. And then you have a fairly weak engine on a relatively heavy aircraft. So, like, the F1 losing speed quickly, I don't know if it's right at the speed it loses it now, but that should probably be a trait that it does have. Like, that airframe is clean when it's flying in a straight line, but as soon as it starts trying to turn, it's causing a lot of drag off a lot of different things. And particularly the combat flaps. This is something I think a lot of people don't realize because they just assume flaps are always better. The combat flaps in the Mirage F1 will help you turn at very low speeds, but you cannot get your speed back with those flaps down. If you want to get any speed back, you need to retract them. Do not leave the combat flaps extended. Just don't. It's like... The F5 has auto flaps, and the F5's auto flaps are generally not too bad. You can, instead of manually gaming them, you can just force the nose down into -G. But the F1, you really need to retract the flaps when you're not actively using them. Also, like a lot of people I see flying the Mirage F1, they're carrying too draggy of a loadout. There's a reason you never see me carry a pair of 530s unless I'm going for the bombers. It's just too much weight, too much drag. Single 530 under the fuselage, pair of Magics on the wings, or 9Js or whatever. The AOA listed on the docks, the plane is still bleeding speed and never getting it back unless you're straight and level. Yeah, they could have something mistuned there. I do remember when it came out, Get Low found some issues with the, some discrepancies between the landing angle of attack and what the aircraft was actually doing in the sim. So it probably is a bit off, but even if it does gain some sustained turn performance, it's just going to find itself in a similar situation to a lot of aircraft, which is it can two-circle okay, but it can't really do anything else. Actually, something the Mirage does do quite well is throw its nose around to a surprising degree. The only problem is you don't have any energy after you've done it. Grim Reapers is a great source. No. I'm sorry to say it, but no. Be honest with you, the format of getting somebody to explain to you how to do the thing you're trying to teach someone how to do in real time is, first of all, a bad format for a tutorial. And second of all, it doesn't teach people why you are doing the thing that you're doing. Like, this is the issue. In Grim Reaper's videos, they don't know why they're doing the thing they're doing, they just know that they're supposed to do it. Sometimes they don't even know that. Like, if you want a shining example... Was that bait? Was it actual bait? Fuck. Okay, for anyone that doesn't know why this is the case, right? For any new viewers who don't realize this, let's take, for example, I usually don't watch Grim Reaper stuff because I know it's just going to set me off, but I got morbidly curious when they made a series of videos about intercepting the SR-71. And the first fucking thing I saw was Cap taking off in the MiG-21 BIS with the emergency afterburner disabled and way too draggy and heavy of a loadout, pitching up to 30 degrees and holding a 30-degree climb. And he stalled out below 10,000 meters and said, oh, it's impossible, you can't intercept the SR-71 with this. You can't even get up to its service. Oh, the flight model must be broken. This plane's supposed to fly at 20 kilometers altitude. Well, was it 19 kilometers altitude, 18 and a half, something like that. You can't even get up there. The flight model's broken. No, it's just not a UFO. You lose thrust as you gain altitude. And aside from that, you're losing, you don't have a 1-to-1 thrust-to-weight ratio. With the emergency burner on, you get slightly above 1-to-1 when you're transonic. Not at low speed, but when you're transonic, because of ram air effect through the engine, right? So he's basically just climbing up until he stalls out below his cruise altitude, let alone his service ceiling. If you want to get up to high altitude in the MiG-21, I have fucking highlights on my channel of me doing this. It is easily reproducible. I've done this with a full combat load. I've, Egg here in chat, if he's still watching, does this all the time as well, just because he can. You take off in the MiG-21, you hold level flight just above the ground until you get to Mach 0.9 or 900 kilometers an hour true airspeed, it doesn't really matter which. You just need to be below transonic drag. Fast, but not transonic. Then you pitch up and hold that speed until you get to 10,000, 12,000 meters, something like that. Then you go into a slight dive to get through the sound barrier. Once you hit Mach 1.2, you gently, like 2G pull maximum, pull back up into a climb and continue to climb, making sure that you are gaining speed, not losing it, until you're back up at about 12 kilometers altitude, 12, 13 kilometers altitude, and you level off. And at this point, you should either already be pushing Mach 2 or very close to it. Then you go up Mach 2, Mach 2.05, Mach 2.1. You've got to kind of edge it. The DCS MiG-21 doesn't quite do high-speed flight properly. The real aircraft would lose directional stability as it approached Mach 2, so if I can speak today, the nose will start searching. Like, directional is rudder right, so the aircraft's nose starts drifting left to right, and it's becoming unstable, and there's some roll coupling into that, so you get this kind of Dutch rolling effect happening. And if it gets bad enough and you fight it, you'll make it worse. So that's why the MiG-21's service limit was Mach 2.05, 2.1 on the later versions, although they just left it at 2.05 in the documents. it's because it's losing directional stability. It's not because the engine's going to blow up. It's not because, you know, the canopy's going to melt. That happens at a much higher speed. The actual limitation is so that the plane doesn't just fucking chuck its nose to one side and then break up in midair. That's the limitation. In DCS, that's not modeled, so they just arbitrarily make the engine flame out once you hit that limiting speed. So anyway, you get up to about Mach 2.1, and then you pull up, no more than about 3 to 4G, you pull up, and try and get the nose, not vertical, you don't want vertical, but you want it about somewhere between 45 and 70 degrees, but you do it gradually, so you're not piling on too much angle of attack too fast, and then you watch your angle of attack indicator and try and keep it below a stall, so you keep it out of the red zone, and see how high you go. The engine will flame out at 23 kilometers altitude. Usually you'll apex out around, depending how well you've flown the profile, and what the atmosphere is like on that given day, like temperature and all that. You'll usually top out somewhere between 27 and 29 kilometers altitude, which is a bit shy of 100,000 feet. I have personally had the MiG-21 in DCS up to, what was it, 31,000 something hundred meters. I forget what the exact number is. And I did it while I was on Enigma's server waiting for the server to restart. I was just like, fuck it, let's go for an altitude record. And my previous best before that had been 30,885 with a full combat load. The MiG-21 will happily go up there, you just need to know what you're doing. And this is kind of a microcosm of the problem, is that Grim Reapers don't actually know what they're doing, but because they produce so much content, and they have name recognition, people assume they know what they're doing, and so they learn how to do things the wrong way, and then they wonder why their plane's doing things that they don't expect it to, or why they're losing in PvP servers. And I'm getting further and further behind chat here. This is a just chatting stream now, apparently. Managed to catch a few flight on Makara's and Mike Delta's revamp of Alpins. It was fun. I hope it gets the attention it deserves. I need to get on there still. I haven't been able to play on there yet. I just, like, honestly, I haven't had the interest in playing DCS lately, and for those of you who were here at the start of the stream, you can kind of see why. It's just between performance issues when I try and play, or, you know, massive team stacks when I try and play, or just me flying badly. It's kind of lost the magic for now. I'm waiting for it to come back. It's not supposed to have the strengths it currently does. Yeah, the radar and the 530 are both overperforming. That said, even though the 530 is overperforming, if you don't fly like a monkey, you can still avoid getting hit by them, unless you're in a Su-25, because you're just too slow. But if you're in a MiG-21, you should not be getting hit by 530s to the face. It's the same as the AIM-9P5. People on Red would always complain, oh, I'm getting shot in the face with AIM-9P5s, just like Blues complain about R3Rs. So don't fly directly at them. Like, you know that there's somebody there. Instead of flying directly to do a wings level merge like you're in fucking fighter school, instead of doing that, why don't you do this? Oh my god, radical concept. Why don't you do that and fly at an off angle? So he either is going to miss behind you because he didn't see you turn, or he's going to start turning after you, at which point you have options. You can either scissor into him, you can get him into a sustained turn fight if that's your fighter's particular strength. You can get him to waste his missiles on a bad angle shot, and then he's down to guns. Like, you have all the options there. You've just taken the initiative away from him. But people don't do it. They just fly directly at each other. Like, they think it's dishonorable if you maneuver before the fucking merge or something. Like, if you're worried about getting shot in the face with a missile, fly off angle to them, throw in a couple of hard turns to bleed off its energy. Don't be an afterburner if it's an IR missile you're scared of. Like, it's not difficult stuff. Like, the only times I was getting face shot with AIM-9P5s was when I didn't realize that there was somebody there. If I was, like, if it was a 1v1 situation, and I was fighting something with 9P5s, I wasn't getting hit with them, because I wasn't flying into them. Apparently with the F4E radar, you can do the trick of using gain to try to pick up a real target from the Cotomes, and if you try and get an STT lock, it might hold properly through ground clutter because of range gates. Yeah, it does have range gating, so it might actually be able to do that. The F5 probably shouldn't be able to. I don't know that much about the APQ-159, so I shouldn't speak out of turn. But just what I know for certain is the F5 radar is overperforming because, first of all, it's too easy to differentiate clutter from actual contacts, even without gaming the game. But once you start gaming the game, it's really easy. And the other thing is, it will not ever try and lock clutter when you're in dogfight mode, even if you point it directly at the ground, which it should. In addition to that, it only renders one bar of clutter when it should render both bars of clutter. Well, it's rendering both bars of clutter, but it's doing it in one band. It should be doing it across both, so there should be a lot more clutter appearing on the scope than there actually is. And between that and DCS not simulating side lobes, you can kind of... you can skew the radar to look above or below where you expect the target to be, and you'll see a clear contact and then a clutter band. Which is a real trick with certain radars, but it's probably actually possible with the F4 as well, but it's too easy to do in the F5. Reddit's full of shit and will stay that way due to a stupid up-down system, but it's still nice to read it. There are actually some interesting things on Reddit. There's a architecture Reddit, or subreddit, whatever it's called, that's focused on brutalism, that I happen to like that architectural style, so it's like, cool, people post interesting buildings. It's fine for that, but the problem is it's antithetical to any kind of intelligent discussion because of the upvote downvote system. That's the problem. And the kind of cultural attitudes that Reddit has taken on over its years of existence, like Reddit's core values, I guess you could say, they run counter to common sense, common decency, and in some cases the fucking law. Never forget the time that Reddit nearly melted down because something awful tried to force them to stop hosting child exploitation on Reddit. That was pretty... Not going to be happy unless you're going Mark 2 with your hair on fire? Absolutely. That's when the most fun things happen. Never had a flat spin by accident. When I did, I recovered by literally folding my wings back and pointing my nose down. On keyboard and mouse, I was going to say sweeping the wings is an interesting method, but on keyboard and mouse, maybe that works. I don't know. If I force a spin in the Tomcat, number 1, neutral the stick. Number 2, opposite rudder, like rudder into the spin, or like against the spin, whatever you call it. So if the spin's going left, I'm full right rudder. If that doesn't recover it, split the throttles. If that doesn't recover it, or if it's a F14A and one of the engines is shit the bed because I'm in a spin, then I start trying other things. One of the other things that's useful to try in a spin is because what put you in the spin in the first place was probably adverse yaw. Instead of trying to aileron out of it, so like, you know, most people's first instinct when the left wing drops is to go full right stick, and that's going to make the problem worse. That's what will put you in a spin. Instead, once you're in the spin, you can use that to your advantage. So you put full stick into the spin and full rudder against it. So say we're in a left-hand spin, I'm full right stick, full right, oh sorry, full, let me think for a minute, my brain's not working. The opposite, I think. It's full rudder against it, and then, yeah, no, it's opposite stick, so full left stick to try and induce enough adverse yaw that it's helping the rudder flip me out of it. So you go opposite stick and rudder, making sure that the rudder is against the direction of spin, and that should get you out of it. And then you can play with nose position a bit too if you're really desperate, but that will usually solve the problem. And that was the approved spin procedure for a lot of US fighters, particularly in the Century series, was to not just use the rudder to get out of it, but to augment the rudder with opposite stick. Had carrier landings in rain and wind, never had a problem. The Hogger GR crowd has some crazy gaslit fear over some of the myths. Yeah, it's so bad, dude. People will come in and they'll be like, oh, I'm new to DCS, I heard the MiG-21's really hard. Oh, it's trying to kill you when you land. It's like, it's so easy, dude. It's such a well-behaved, mild-mannered plane if you treat it right. It just takes a little bit of knowledge. Just a little bit of knowledge. Top Gun movie should have been about Goose, not Maverick. No, you're right, it should have been. We compare hardness in flying F-14 to F-18. One could say the F-14 wants to kill you while the other wants to just make you a cup of coffee while enjoying views. The F-18 will kill you if you don't know what you're doing. Like, if you are the kind of person that just instinctively pulls the stick to your guts, the F-18 will kill you as well, because even though it won't flick into a spin or anything, you'll have 0 airspeed and the plane will start going downwards rather than forwards. And then you'll think that you can just pull more stick to get out of it, because the F-18 will pull as much stick as you want to, because it'll pull like 70 degrees angle of attack and still be stable, and it'll just make the problem worse. Every aircraft will kill you if you let it. It's just knowledge. That's all it is. It's just knowledge of your aircraft and what it can and can't do, and being able to recognize when you get into second region of reverse control, whatever you want to name it. Everyone has a different name for it, but when more stick make problem worse, when you get into that, you need to recognize it. What's this MiG-21 interceptor story? The MiG-21 is a light fighter. It was a light frontline fighter. The MiG-21F, the first variant, the F literally stands for frontline, frontovoy. The second generation MiG-21s were upgraded to act as stopgap interceptors while Sukhoi's Su-9 entered service. The Su-9 was the actual interceptor of the era. It looks very similar to a MiG-21, except much bigger. There's a reason for that. People go, oh, well, the MiG-21's an interceptor because it has short range. If you're a large country, like the United States or Canada or the Soviet Union, and you need an interceptor, you need the opposite of short legs. You need something with a lot of fuel in it. So yeah, there's a common perception in the West that anything that goes fast in a straight line and is pointy is an interceptor. It's not true. The F-104 is also not an interceptor, despite popular belief. But people don't read the actual design briefs for these aircraft. They don't read the manuals. They don't try and understand the context of why they were designed. They don't understand how air combat after World War II evolved to a school of thought of whoever's higher and faster is going to win a dogfight. Turning doesn't matter, as the Japanese found out late war against Corsairs. And so they just assume, oh, if it goes fast and it can't turn inside its own asshole, it's an interceptor, which is not true. It's my biggest pet hate when it comes to discussing aviation with people, because it's such a prevalent meme in the West. Like, I could count on one hand the number of people I've encountered in the wild that know that the F-104 was not an interceptor, or the MiG-21 was not an interceptor. Like, literally count them on one hand. And it's such a pervasive myth, it's really hard to fight back against, because people will just mental gymnastics their way out of it. You can provide them with the fucking RFP for the MiG-21 that says light frontline fighter, and they will say, oh, but it's an interceptor. Like, the Soviets called it fucking frontovoy istribitel, frontline fighter. Fuck. Not istribitel перехватчик, which is interceptor. They called it frontovoy istribitel. Big difference. Likewise with the MiG-29. Oh, the MiG-29's an interceptor. Then why was the MiG-29 program LFI? Легкий фронтовой истребитель. Light frontline fighter. Su-27. TFI. Or TPFI, because it was perspektivny, like perspective. So, тяжелый перспективный фронтовой истребитель. Heavy perspective frontline fighter. Hey Rob. Always advised getting F5 first, but everyone and their mother say get F18 as your first, you'll love it. It's so stupid too, because the F5 is really just a baby Hornet. Like, it really shows the design lineage from the F5 through the F20 to the YF17 to the Hornet. And it has a lot of the same strengths the Hornet does, just scaled down. Like, the F5 in DCS is probably a little too stable at high angles of attack, but it has that same trait that the Hornet does. You can pull your nose. Your problem's lack of thrust, not lack of nose authority. So the F5's a perfect way to train somebody to then go to the Hornet. Like, you could not make a better progression, F5 to Hornet, but they never fucking follow it, because the F5's not capable enough for them. F1's a ground attack interceptor, so naturally it works better with wingmen, just can't dogfight. Boom and zoom shit is a meme unless it has front aspect IR missiles. Even the and the 530 EM has scored 1 kill in its service life. Yeah, from like, was it a mile astern on a non-maneuvering target? Didn't even get any kills in the 6-day war because it got fucked by ground controls. Yeah, like, the F1 is a cool plane because it's janky and kind of shitty. That's why I like the F1. That's why I wish they simulated the limitations better, because I like things that have problems. I like things that have design flaws. It gives them character. You know, as Enigma says, it gives them soul. I would say it gives them, like, a personality, a character about them. It's like, do it again, but with feeling. That's what I enjoy. That's why I also crack the shits when people half-ass flight models. People get info from unreliable sources, proceed to make shit takes, it becomes bro, it's common knowledge. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of English language publications during the Cold War were basically, this was once revealed to me in a dream. There was a lot of incorrect information, or for public release stuff like Jane's, there were a lot of numbers that were changed to not let the Soviets realize either the capabilities of Western stuff or what the West was aware the Soviets could do. So there's a lot of Cold War era intentional disinformation as well as unintentional misinformation, which has just become taken as fact in the West. And the Russians probably have the same problem. Just the opposite way. F5 radar's good then? Yeah, I've got I think a bunch of highlights on my channel. In fact, on my YouTube, I've got a whole separate video clipped out of highlights off this channel about the F5 radar. If someone could find it, it's, if you look like ANAPQ159 on my channel on YouTube, it should come up, I think. If one of you could drop the link for that in chat, it would be appreciated, because, like, the radar's not perfect, but holy shit is it better than people realize. There's no reason not to use the F5 radar at all. And people have this idea that, oh, you know, if you turn the radar on, all of the MiGs will know where you are. Like, have you seen the SPO-10? They're not going to know where you are. They know that there's something with a radar in the general direction of where you are. They don't know if you're an F5, they don't know if you're a MiG, they don't know if you're a fucking SAM site. Like, this is another thing with DCS players. They have this neurosis about MCON, emissions control. In the real world, unless you're on a ground attack mission where it actually makes sense to have your radar turned off, and even then you're probably using it for ground mapping, if you're doing air-to-air in the real world, your fucking radar is on at all times. So you don't fly into your wingman, so you don't accidentally shoot down something that wasn't your opponent, so, you know, you have IFF functional. Now with things like Link 16, it's less critical, but even then, you fly with your radar on. For collision avoidance, if nothing else. Like, nobody in the real world is flying around with their fucking air-to-air radar turned off while on an air-to-air mission. It doesn't exist. And especially not back in the Cold War. Like, you might have your radar turned off while you're under ground-controlled intercept, because it's saving time on your radar. These things often had mean time between failures of less than a day. So you get like 2 or 3 hours use out of the radar on a good day, and then it would fail and it'd need repairs. So people would not use their radar constantly if they were concerned it was going to fail. But if you were actually like engaging an enemy, it was on. Unless it was already bricked. Ready to drop $50 the minute a MiG-17 is released? Yeah, there is that one that Red Star's working on. I hope it comes good. They seem to have really picked up their game with research on it, so fingers crossed. We're slowly catching up, guys. We'll actually play the game in a minute. Well, not a minute. We'll play the game in a bit, but I want to catch up on chat. Used to always fly 27 over 29, but that supersonic acceleration got me addicted. Yeah, the supersonic acceleration, just the feel of it, the fact it's so much more hands-on and visceral. Like, the Su-27 is a more capable aircraft in many respects, but the MiG-29 is more fun. And when it comes to getting fast, like getting up to high speed fast, the MiG-29 is Lord God King of that in DCS. Full fidelity grot should be cool for the extra depth of systems. Yeah, it might wake up a few people about just what the A-10 was when it was first introduced to servers versus Su-25. The Su-25 was a much more well-rounded aircraft. The A-10 received some upgrades in the 90s, which gave it its current form in DCS. The A-10A, that is. The A-10C is a 2000 aircraft in DCS. But people really don't understand just how basic the A-10 was during the Cold War. It was one of those aircraft that you look at it and you go, this only exists because of politics. Like, there's no reason for this to exist except politics. It was genuinely like that. That fucking low tech, and not in a good way. Only reason I think I never struggled with carrier landings in other games is that in IL-246 I used to practice landing the Kicker and J7W for hours in the IJN carriers. Yeah, that would do it. That would definitely do it. Say landing a MiG-15 is hard too? No. I'd say it can catch you out if you're used to the more modern aircraft. So when I first started playing the MiG-15 in DCS, I found that I was bouncing a lot or crunching the gear, and I realized why. It's because I had a habit of coming off at reduced power. You cannot do that in the MiG-15 because the throttle response is so bad. In the MiG-15, you pull the air brake and fly in at almost full throttle. You're using the air brake to manage your speed, not the engine. Because if you have to suddenly ram the throttle forwards because you're too slow, it's not going to do it in time. You're going to go into the trees. So I wouldn't say the MiG-15 is hard to land. I'd say it's the same as any aircraft. You have to understand how and why it works the way it does, and then it will be easy. You can do it in your sleep. Love to fly formation with A-10s and an F-14, like 300 kilometers an hour speed and less, just for the meme. I've flown formation with A-10s on the Hogget training server in my MiG-21 just to show them I can do it. And I hope that they were very afraid of the MiG-21 when they saw that. People don't realize just how well that thing handles at low speed. It's a little too good in DCS at low speed. F5 of the P5 taught people bad habits? Yeah, it did. Because it was a crutch, right? It's a crutch. It's like the R60M taught people bad habits on Alpen's server. The R60 taught people bad habits. When we lost our R60s on Alpen's server and had to go back to the R3S and the R13M, that's when I hit my peak in MiG-21 dogfighting ability. That's when Davey really started terrorizing people. Like, that's when the fucking red guys got cracked, because they had to actually learn to fight instead of just relying on their missile to do everything for them. Heard somewhere that Vietnamese pilots evaded picking up a fight with a Navy pilot. They would evade picking fights with any US fighters if they could help it. Generally, they try and avoid Phantoms unless the Phantoms were on a ground attack mission, and they would ambush them. Because they just couldn't afford to throw away their limited supply of MiG-21s and even more limited supply of pilots trying to dogfight Phantoms. It made no sense. They would just poke holes in US air offensives where they could, with SAMs and with fighters and with AAA, and just take what they could get to try and slowly bleed the US out. Which is really all you can do in their situation. Like, with what they were given, they did as well as anyone could. Who's going to fly for you in the F4? I don't know yet. I do not know yet. You can do a level height so high if you're supersonic. Flew 400 kilometers at 15 kilometers out today in the 29. At 13 to 14 kilometers altitude in the MiG-29, throttled back to about 80%, 90% RPM, you have a range of over 1,000 kilometers with a belly tank. Like, people talk about the MiG-29 being short-legged. Yeah, if you're flying at full burner on the deck, sure. If you're flying at high altitude, throttled back, that thing will go for hours. And yeah, like the MiG-21, you can sustain level, that's what its service ceiling is, right? You can sustain level flight at 18 kilometers altitude, which is like, what, 50-something thousand feet, 58,000 feet, something like that? You can sustain level flight up there if you're supersonic. You have to be supersonic to get there, but once you are, you can stay there until you run out of fuel. Like, that's the whole point of the service ceiling. The service ceiling isn't how high the plane cruises at. The service ceiling is how high the plane can maintain level flight. That's what the service ceiling is, or the static ceiling. The dynamic ceiling is how high you can yeet the thing in a ballistic climb. So the MiG-21's dynamic ceiling is somewhere north of 25 kilometers. I don't know if it should be 30 something like it is in DCS, but it's certainly more than 25. Probably 30 is pretty close. The MiG-23's dynamic ceiling is 40 kilometers. 40. That's about 130,000 feet, something like that. Now, would you do that? Probably not. It's not going to end well for you. But theoretically speaking, the aircraft has enough energy that it could get up there. Its actual service ceiling was it 18.5, 19.5, something like that? Isn't the limit because of the max IS of 1350, 1400 due to flame out? In DCS, yeah. In real life, it's something that is kind of difficult to divine unless you have the full documentation for the aircraft and the engine, which I don't. The reason for the 1300 km/h limit is dynamic pressure, and I think it's specifically dynamic pressure in the engine intake, so that's probably where you get something like a engine unstart or something like that. So yeah, that's probably an engine limitation, but actually, yeah, now I think about that, that's probably exactly why it's a limit. It's probably an engine unstart. But an unstart and a flame out are two different things, by the way. But the Mach limit, specifically the Mach limit, because at the altitude where you can do Mach 2.1, you're still well below 1300 indicated. That's a stability limit. Same as the MiG-23. Same as the MiG-25. I think every Mikoyan supersonic fighter that could actually reach that high of a speed, its limitation wasn't running out of thrust to fight drag or the engine shitting the bed. It was the aircraft entering very dangerous levels of directional instability. And that's not exclusive to Mikoyan aircraft. There are US aircraft with similar limitations. If you read the real-life MiG-21's pilot manual, like the pilot's operating handbook, it will describe, as you approach Mach 2, the aircraft will have a certain yaw tendency to one side or the other, and to not try and fight it too hard, because that's natural, and if you fight it with the rudder, you'll enter pilot-induced oscillations, and then directional stability goes out the window, and the aircraft will enter an uncontrolled, like an uncontrolled tumble, or a spin. Supersonic spins are not fun. And that's just from natural variances in aircraft construction. Even if you think that Soviet aircraft were built by illiterate farmers or something, and that's why, US aircraft are the same. No two aircraft are alike, even if they were built in the same factory on the same day. So certain little quirks like that will start to come out. No two aircraft fly exactly the same. Which is something I wish sims would reflect, but they never do. I don't think there's been a single sim that has actually reflected the subtle... Actually, no, I'm wrong. DCS does. The MiG-15 in DCS, it will want to auger in either right or left based on, I think, random chance when it spawns. I think the Sabre does something similar. But beyond that, there's no difference. Like, some aren't a little faster than others, some aren't a little more unreliable than others. In real life, that's how it is. One aircraft is always known for being a little quicker than the others of its type, or, you know, one of them's a hangar queen that it must have been built on a Friday afternoon because it's never working. Stuff like that. When MiG-23 though, I don't know, but hopefully not too far in the future. Oh my god, chat, we're just about there. Basically flown the F1 exclusively on Syria the last 3 months. 530 has no arming distance. Oh, I know. So that's the thing, right? Is you don't want to give somebody the kind of shot where they can just hold the 530 until the last second, then fire it, because you can't evade something that's fired with less than a second of flight time until it hits you. So in that case, that's why I'm trying to avoid setting up a merge with them in the first place. I'm trying to get them to turn away and maybe waste their 530 on a tail shot, which I can then just burn away from and serpentine a bit to get it to bleed off its speed. Remember though, it's sustained, so you don't want to cut the throttle too early. So I can get them to waste their 530 and then reset the merge and come back. Like, you don't want to get into a close merge with anything carrying 530s at the moment. But also, yeah, a lot of people will fire their missiles further than 5 miles out, and that does make them easier to defeat. Is that the F5 radar exploit? It's kind of an exploit. So some of what I'm able to do with it is probably realistic for that type of radar, but it's like too effective. It's too easy to do it. And it's just because the radar's not very well modeled. So for instance, the ground clutter is only rendering in one scan bar. The F5's radar is a 2-bar scan, right? So it's doing something like this. It just does like a box scan. And each bar is whatever the beam width is, 3.5 degrees or some shit. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. But it's a certain bandwidth, or certain beam width, sorry, and it's doing this pattern. So it's rendering all of the clutter from the bottom bar and the top bar in one bar. And you can tell that because you can see that the clutter changes as the radar sweeps both directions. So the clutter will refresh going left and it will refresh going right, but it will only render in the same place. It won't expand out the screen. It should be rendering that in both bars, which should increase the amount of clutter on the screen and decrease the ability to spot a single contact coming towards you outside that clutter field. DCS also at the moment, at least with that radar, I think with any radar, doesn't model side lobe clutter, so you don't get the additional clutter coming off the other lobes. So basically it's a combination of that radar having bugs, specifically bugs, but also the relatively low fidelity of DCS radar modeling. I don't know if the Mirage F1 does side lobes. It probably does, knowing Gallinet. Like the Mirage 2000, not the F1. The F1 radar is pretty woeful, but the Mirage 2000 has like hands down the best radar in the game. It is really well simulated, and it looks like the F15E is going to be up to the same standard, if not slightly better. The Mirage, as in the radar and the Mirage doesn't pick up, like the F1 doesn't pick up ground clutter, or the 530 doesn't? Because yeah, I don't think really many of the missiles in DCS that should be a little sketchy near the ground actually are. And yeah, the F1 doesn't actually render dynamic clutter, it's just a noise texture over the screen, unfortunately. Been lost from DCS for some time. That makes 2 of us, Veritech. Have you been flying the Mirage after the RDI overhaul? A bit, yes. It's fucking excellent. It's incredible. It is, like I said, it's the best radar in the game. It's the only fully properly simulated radar in the game. The F14 comes a second. I'm not going to say a close second, but I'm also not going to say a distant second. But yeah, like the Mirage 2000 radar is just... That jet is going from strength to strength. Super 530F's a little too good right now too. Yeah, I think it's using a single stage motor instead of a 2-stage motor. And it's probably got all the other same problems with its seeker. Only flies short legs, he's only 3 feet tall. No, that would be Tawny. That would be Tawny that does that. Fly the fuck out of the F4? Hell yeah, dude. I'm gonna fly the F4 a lot as well. Like, I like planes that have quirks. The more painful it is for me to fly, the more I want to fly it. Yeah, I was catching up with chat, Cotty. I'm just about done now. 5 does model the side lobe clutter? I didn't think it did. I thought it was only main lobe. Anyway, let's see if DCS is going to behave itself now. If it's not, then we'll play Gunner Heat PC or something. Or actually, I might fire up SnowRunner for the first time. So for those who arrived after the previous attempt, the stream started on a very bad foot. I was already in a bad mood when I started it because my countrymen are fucking idiots. And then DCS was constantly freezing and stuttering, and I got killed by shit that I had no way of fighting against, so... The usual. The usual. Also, there was a massive red stack, which there still is. Love to see it. To be fair, blue deserved to be stacked against after so long fucking stacking against red. Tempest is pretty even, but I feel like flying something else. Let's do some F5 stuff, maybe some vegan stuff. Like my plane's like, I like my women. These aren't red flags. They're fun facts about me. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. The more she's trying to kill you, the more fun it is. The, oh, no, never mind. I see what you're saying. I was going to say that's not the F5 radar, but I get you. You're talking about the Phantom. RP-22 should be better at low altitude than the APQ-120. That should be interesting. But, see, this is the thing. And it's interesting because when it comes to things like flight controls, the argument goes the other way. But it's a potential advantage of the really hands-on, archaic US manually done systems versus the Soviet automated ones, is that you can manually game things like the radar gain and try and catch people with side lobe instead of main lobe, stuff like that. I can't do that with the MiG-21. So with the MiG-21 I get what I get. Whereas with the F5, I can use my esoteric radar knowledge, which is, by the way, I don't know much about radar, so don't always fact check me on shit I say, because often I'm wrong. But like, because I have that extra degree of manual control over the radar in the F5, I can use that knowledge to do shit that the MiG-21 can't do. I think we're going to have potentially issues again because of how long it just took everything to load in around me, but we'll see how we go. Performance on Syria has been getting worse and worse as they add more to the map, so... The other thing I need to do is go to... Oh my god. Go to the F10 map and zoom in so it's not rendering the entire fucking map on F10.
Copy.
Bro. My game is literally frozen. My game has fucking locked up. Jesus Christ. Hello? Hello? No, Doom. No, it's not. Usually there's no F10 starter time for me. I don't know what the fuck its problem is today. I have not had performance this bad out of DCS since my old PC. Like, I don't know if it's just a perfect storm of, like, the last patch adding a bunch of bugs and then this server having some issues, but... What the fuck? You can see even when I'm trying to pan at small distances, it's fucking stuttering. I do not know what DCS's problem is today. Yeah, I've got shadows on, but, like, I'm not really keen on turning shadows off. I shouldn't have to fuck with my graphics settings to get performance out of the game, and in single player it runs fine, or in any other server it runs fine. DCS is one of those wonderful games where you can have performance issues that are completely unrelated to your game settings. And so turning all your settings down won't actually fix the problem. In some cases it makes it worse. For a long time, turning down your shadow settings would make the game run worse, by the way. That's probably been fixed, but it used to be the case that certain shadow settings, the lowest shadow settings, would actually make the game run worse than full shadows. These stutters. I don't know, dude. That's not going to work until it... No, it's frozen again. I think we're not going to do DCS today. It's just not going to work. Sorry for debating you guys. I can't even exit the game without it fucking locking up. Jesus Christ. Hello? Hello? You're fucking kidding, dude. What a joke. Yeah. There will be no DCS streams for the foreseeable future. This is fucking ridiculous. What time is it? 7 AM. I don't really have enough time. Yeah, I don't really have time to launch Misfizz and get some flights in, so we won't. There's nothing else taking up resources, it's all DCS. No, my PC's fine, Jeeve. My PC is fine. It's only DCS having this problem. On this server, specifically. It won't even... Oh my god. My guy, it won't even fucking kill the... It won't even kill the process. There we go. Second attempt of end task, and it finally works. Like, if I look at my resource use at the moment, it's nothing. It was all DCS. There's no other problems here. Client count also fucks with performance, yeah, and people trying to spam join the server. Give me a moment, guys. I'm gonna grab myself another drink, because I fucking need one at this point. And then we'll figure out what to do from here. Actually, you know what? Something is wrong, because even OBS is stuttering. It's weird. Something's wrong. I'm going to restart my PC. So the stream's going to go down for a couple minutes. It'll be back, but something is iffy. Maybe if we can get some performance out of DCS after a restart, we'll try it again. But I don't know. My PC's been fine lately, so I suspect it's